Good morning, everybody. I'm John Rutenberg. I know almost everyone in the room and look forward to maybe meeting the one or two people I've yet to meet. I own cccsolutions.com and I'm the MC for today's program. So a little bit about 1 Million Cups. Next slide, please. We're funded by the Kauffman Foundation. And the Kauffman Foundation is focused on entrepreneurship and educating entrepreneurs to increase their opportunities, to educate them about risks and maybe help them with their risks. One of your most important responsibilities today is to scan the QR code as I speak. Please, each, if you'll take your phone and register for today's meeting. If you were at last week's meeting and didn't have a chance to scan the QR code, you can. And we would really appreciate it. As you can tell, we're trying to improve the number of participants every week. And we as a group of organizers is using this as one of our measures of how well we're performing. So we need your help. So click on the QR code, please. Next slide. Everyone okay with that? So our organizing team is 6. I see several, I think 5 of 6 are here right now. Melinda is out today. Every week, the group is focused on bringing more attendees, more presenters, and organizing the Wednesday morning meetings. So among the important functions we've started is to welcome our newest attendees who have never been here before and make sure that Scott Alford and John Rutenberg follow up after the meeting to welcome you and make sure to hear what you have to say about the meeting. So look for an email from one of us, and please be involved in our community and make us better. We also have a group of brand ambassadors who are focused, on bringing in presenters. Everyone, we need your help. Next slide, please. We really spoke to this earlier, but working on each of our value propositions is really critical to our success, and everyone in the room is willing to help each other with that specific proposition. Key pillars. You can't ask for money. It's presentations about a challenge or a popular topic or a relevant topic. It's not pitches for money. I know that I have a lot of friends in the room. That's pretty darn authentic. Okay. The networking is coincidental and incidental. We are run for the community, by the community. Each of you has the ability to step forward and help us as ambassadors and organizers. We welcome it. Please bring it on. Next slide, please. Great. Is anyone here? I don't think.
I can speak for
MEC. Thank you. For Mason, and then Tess right after.
Sure. So Mason Enterprise Center in Fairfax is an incubator associated with George Mason. It's a great organization to be a member of. There are dedicated mentors. There are dedicated advisors to help you through commercialization of your product. We also work with people outside of the US, so from Europe as well. We have several organizations that work with MEC Fairfax to launch their products or solutions in the DC market. Eddie Hill is the director there. If you're ever interested in taking a tour, it's right off of 66 in Vienna. It's a super brand new place, great community, over 400 members. So do check it out. There's also virtual membership too. And MEC is where we host our meeting Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of every month in person. So you can come and check us out there. We're hybrid that day too. So people who are virtually, you can still join us. But if you want to come check out the space, you can join us the first Wednesday of each month. With that, I'll turn it over to our coffee sponsor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tess Rollins. I am the Chief Creative Cultivator for Simply Enhance. We're a graphic design and brand strategy firm, and our goal is to make sure that you are visible so that you can either become or remain viable. Thank you.
Thank you to our sponsors, really phenomenal. Each of you, please read this for a moment. I'm sure you're all schooled in the 3 points, but if you'll just refresh, I'd appreciate it. Anyone still reading? Please let us know that you're a slow reader. No, I'm just teasing. Okay, next slide, please. Best practices, really important. In the last year, we got feedback from a presenter that the presenter felt maybe embarrassed or disgraced a little bit when someone countered. So there's ways to counter and have free expression, clearly. And these are just tips of good ways to express yourself. And please, Rutenberg tends to be blunt, and I learned from this also, so it applies to all of us. Thank you. Next slide, sure. So I'd like to say that Dan Lender is a newbie, but Dan Lender has been involved in 1 Million Cups for quite a long time. And Dan has actually presented challenge questions in the past. Today, he's going to take a different tack, and we're going to use a slightly different format. Dan is a successful entrepreneur and owns Golden Rule Home Watch and Concierge, providing a set of services to homeowners who aren't always in their homes on a consistent, regular basis. He'll tell you more, but he's become a friend at a minimum, and he's a great businessman in town and has reflected upon some of the lessons he's learned, and he's going to share them today. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan. As a group of organizers, I'm going to start the competition. I did it in 7 minutes. We started at 8:01 once everyone agreed to be taped. 7 minutes, gang. Got to keep MC short so our presenter has more time. You're the best, Dan. You're on.
You know, when John started talking, thank you, John. When he started talking about me, I wasn't sure for a second whether he was going to say anything good or not, or you know, it was anything at all can come out of John's mouth. So, and you're right, John. I've been part of 1 Million Cups for a long time, and actually looking back to 2018 was probably, you know, when you're new and you have a great business idea, but you don't have much customers or much revenue. 1 Million Cups is one of the first places I came to. You know, I went to some other networking groups, but then I came to 1 Million Cups and I learned that it's not your average. It's not a networking group. It's not your go around the room and speak 30 seconds and announce what you do, and so it's a different format. So, and I've always looked to give back to 1 Million Cups any way that's possible. So I'm going to share some ideas this morning and some thoughts that I've learned over the last 5 years, and we'll go from there. Next slide, please. Okay, a little bit about me. I threw this slide in here because one thing I learned in one of my in my corporate jobs is that the person said, well, if you're going to give time to someone, you need to understand who they are and why you should listen to them. So I put a little bit about me, and this is kind of painful because I don't like to talk about me. So I'll run through this slide. I was born in Western Pennsylvania, lifelong Steeler fan. For those, and if you still want to stay, that's great. And that was a long time ago. I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I graduated as a pharmacist, and I have worked as a diabetes educator and also as a clinical study monitor in the pharmaceutical industry. I still maintain my license in Pennsylvania and Virginia, though I haven't practiced as a pharmacist in a long time. I moved to Virginia in 1998 to take a job in IT, completely changed my life, packed a couple of suitcases, and a friend told me, you should come down here and get into IT. And at the time, I didn't even know what IT was. And I took a job with Computer Associates, and then a company called BEA, which is not on the slide, which was bought by Oracle, and then I wound up at Intel. And then another company after that, CrowdStrike. I moved into cybersecurity from IT and into the world of nation state cyber threat intelligence, which is amazing what's going on in the world. If most people knew the things that various not so friendly governments around the world and how they look to exploit other countries and segments within the United States, for example. But then in 2017, I discovered that the world does not end every 90 days, because after those of you who have lived in the corporate world and the sales world know that forecast and what you're only as good as what you deliver in the last quarter. And I learned that it was time to do something else. No one puts on their gravestone, I wish I would have worked more, right? And so that was something that I just decided to do something else. So I dropped out of corporate IT, and that led to the creation of Golden Rule Home Watch and Concierge. And as John said, we look after homes and properties for people when they are away, because for most people, their biggest asset is their home and the stuff that they've accumulated in it. We also do some other things that I can talk about. I mean, and what I tell my art clients is, as long as it's legal and ethical, we will do it. And we've been asked to do a lot of things, including watch pets that are snakes and fish and things like that. And we will actually we'll sacrifice and drive expensive cars that clients may have, and we'll bite the bullet and do that if we have to. But the company has done very well, and I would like to take more of the credit as being a great businessman, but it is, and I'll talk about what I've learned and what I think helps us is growing. We've grown revenue 50% year over year since we started, and now I have about 4 people plus me that work for the company doing what we do, and so it's we've been very blessed to have a successful growing business. So next slide. What I want to do is I have assembled a list of top 10 things that I've learned over the last 5 years. I suspect that you will have your own top 10 or top 20 or top 5 that you will learn. And you know, what's that old phrase that life is about the destination, not the journey. And so, you know, the more I learn, the more I find out that I don't know, because there's so much to learn. And I suspect those of you entrepreneurs in business will encounter the same. The first thing on my list that I think is most important, because when you're a new person in business, people tell you, oh, you need to do this and this and this. And so your head can be spinning, and then it's like, well, I haven't done any of those things. But the first thing you need to focus on is to be really, really good at your craft, whatever the product is or the service that you're going to, promote. You need to be really good at that, because you can have the best website and the best social media presence, but if you're lousy at what you do, that will catch up to you very quickly. And so it is something that I've learned, and just be very good at what you do, and the other stuff will happen, right? So it is before you try to wear many hats, as we all do as solopreneurs and as we're growing, just focus on first being really good at what you want to do. Hopefully that makes sense. So, and by the way, if I look around or seem distracted, it's because we have kittens in the house who they're like little kids that they need attention when they find yourself on the phone or you're doing other things except paying attention to them. So bear with me. So the second point that I would make is go the extra mile for clients. I would tell a little story. We had a client in Arlington, and they called me and said that they had a package delivered on their front. A package was on their front steps, but they hadn't we're not expecting any deliveries. And could I go by to see what it was? Because, you know, a package on steps that's there for, you know, for a week tends to make it clear that no one's in the house. So it turns out that a few people down the street who don't get many packages, the Amazon delivery person left a package on my client's steps, and it wasn't their package. So I just, you know, thought I would help out and took the package 2 doors, I think it was 2 doors down, and gave it to the people and locked the door and talked a little bit to the people whose package it was. And they were overjoyed. And it turns out that everybody in the neighborhood, I mean, this is an older couple, and everybody in the neighborhood kind of looks out for them. So I got a lot of press for that. I mean, and they just thought I was tremendous because I did that. And I, you know, I didn't charge them for my time. You know, it was just, I was in the area anyhow. So it was one of those things that you just never know when you're going to do something that's going to, it's the right, it was the right thing, but it's going to make you look good in the eyes of your customers. And so you just go that extra mile for clients, right? And we have a phrase that when clients ask, the answer is always yes. And we figure out a way to do it. Again, if it's legal and ethical, we don't pick up packages and just deliver to places that without asking questions. And so we make sure things are legal and ethical. But it is things like this in your business, you will find, whether it's not charging or whether it's just throwing something in or whether it's doing something for people, they really will appreciate it and they'll never forget it. Trust me. So that is something that's happened a few times. We're not in the practice of giving things away, but it's the little things that matter to people. So, okay. The third thing is turn your early clients into references and testimonials as quick as possible. And you see from the slide why, because everyone looks at reviews in 2023. I don't think there's anyone on this call that buys something from Amazon without looking at the reviews or seeing that has history, you know, or it's a good purchase or a good use of your time and dollars. So, but turn those early customers into, I mean, maybe you only have one, but turn them into a reference or a testimonial as quickly as possible. And trust me, people, if you've been really good to your clients, they want to help you. So it is, make sure you do that. And so whether it's on your website or whatever, however you want to do it, put that out there, and people will, if anything, they will be too verbose in their accolades of you. Sometimes. And so but you should turn those early customers into testimonials as quickly as possible. Next slide. Thank you, Jen. Pay attention when someone offers basic blocking and tackling tips. I was in the world of software sales for many years, and salespeople don't like other salespeople, and they don't respect other salespeople because they just don't. So, but when the smart people will come in and say, you guys probably know this is some basic blocking and tackling. And some of the best information that I've ever gotten has been when that's been introduced, and I actually listened. And this is where your process improvement happens as well, because I'm not sure if you've ever encountered a business or someone else who says, well, that's the way we've always done it. It's like, well, it's not the best way, but it's the way we've always done it. Well, I hate when someone says that, because it could be better. And so when you're working for yourself and you need to make your process better, you need to make your process cheaper. So, but when you're around smart people and they say things like, oh, this is just basic blocking and tackling, those are some of the best nuggets of wisdom that anyone can ever share with you. Number 5, regularly talk with smart people. And when I first came to 1 Million Cups, I got to know Jen Dalton, John Rutenberg, and Ken Portnoy and some other folks. And these are nice people that actually want to see you succeed and are willing to share information. So, and that's the advantage. And you'll figure this out very quickly when you go to networking groups, and then you come to a place like 1 Million Cups. You will find and meet people that are genuinely sincere and interested. So make sure you spend time with them. Number 6, ask for input from others that are not family or friends. family and friends, and this is important, family and friends will tell you what they think you want to hear. They may say, oh, your website looks great, or this flyer looks great. And then when you leave, say, this doesn't have a snowball's chance, right? So ask people that are maybe friends, but are respected, people that will give you an honest answer. In my corporate life, I had an individual, a client that I would go to that people hated to meet with because he had no filter. He would tell you, no, that's not our problem, and those are the wrong people you're talking to. He would often tell people the answer that they didn't want to hear, but his information and input was very helpful. That there's an old phrase: sharp knife hurts the quick, or cuts the quickest, hurts the least. It's kind of true. You want someone who's honest with you versus somebody who just tells you what you want to hear. Or it smiles at you, then as soon as you leave, throws your stuff away. You don't want those kind of people. So let's see. Number 7, be honest with yourself and what you offer, where you go, your territory, your sales area, or whatever, where you're going to be going geographically, and what your ideal customer looks like. I should have moved this up to number 2, actually, because this is really important, because, and when you're new, you don't want to say no to any revenue, and you cast a very wide net, but then you learn very quickly, well, that's too far to drive. That's not the kind of person that I want to deal with. Or you learn something that makes you smarter for the next time. So you start to decrease the size of your geographic area. You limit your what you sell or service you provide to certain types of niches. And so things like that. So I have Google 5-star reviews ? Here. So when I was new, I got a little frustrated because I wasn't getting a lot of Google 5-star reviews. Well, then I figured out that most of our clients don't use Facebook, Google, anything, because they're very protective of their identities. So that's become, it doesn't bother me at all. It's like, and so it is, we've had players for the Nationals, and we have some people with the Washington, the Capitals. And so they're very protective, of their identities. And so they don't put everything out there on social media. And so, I have learned that that's not the end of the world. I'm not getting those kind of reviews. So number 8, your business will go in directions that you had not considered. And I have mind like parachute analogy. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard this analogy, kind of like it's attributed to Confucius most commonly, that the mind is like a parachute, but it only works if open, right? So, you have in mind what you want to do, and you wrote your business plan, you're going to do certain things, but then it takes, your business takes a left turn. For example, when we started, we never thought about the State Department and foreign service people, but we have a lot of foreign service clients. They go away to other clients, they buy a house in the neighborhood that they want, and they want to have their kids go to school, and then they leave the US for 1 year, 3 years. And so they need someone to look after their house while they're gone. So that was not a population that we ever focused on, but they started calling, and I started getting more and more of those folks. And so that has become a valuable part of our business, right? Number 9, be humble, listen to others, help others, and don't ever ignore that little voice. I have taught classes on situational awareness to individuals. So never, whether it's personal security or whether it's in business, don't ignore that little voice. If something tells you this isn't right, or there's something I'm hearing that's does not add up, don't ignore that. Take that, come back to that, pull at that string a little bit further, investigate it further. Just don't ignore that little voice, because it's not usually wrong. And my last tip is, or the last thing that I've learned is, it's not because our name is Golden Rule, but it was what our company was named after. The Golden Rule applies to everyone. Treat others like you like to be treated yourself, and it will carry you a long distance. In our world, we take care of homes like we would like ours to be taken care of. And so 99.99% of the time, there's no one home. And so it would be easy for us to step over things and not do things no one would know, but we don't do that. So we take care of things just like we would take care of things that are in our own house, right? So but it applies to, be nice to other people and take care of other people just like you would like them to treat you. And with that, I will take any questions. Like I said, you will have your own tips that you learn as you go through business. And so yours will be different, but these are 10 things that jumped out at me. So thank you for listening.
So Dan, thank you, of course. Round of applause. And we're going to head into a breakout room in a moment, but in listening and then hearing, and of course I saw the 10 points in advance, but a little anecdote. After I read them and Dan and I were talking, I said, hey, Dan, that was really good branding on your part in item number 10, making the golden rule applies to everyone. And then he said to me, John, I actually hadn't even thought of it. And we both laughed, but point number 9 is be humble. And one of the nice attributes of Dan is he's humble. Now, he's wrong about the Steelers, but that's for another day. Anyway, we're going to head into breakout sessions in a matter of seconds. And
Before we do, we have some questions, I think, from folks, John.
Well, I just want to make a comment where Dan forgot the bullet point of doing everything opposite of what John Rutenberg does. Where was that? Where was that?
I must have when Jen said I couldn't tell any stories about bars in Singapore and things that I've done there. I must have cut and paste and took that comment about John out as well.
And go Steelers.
Yes.
it clearly must have been one of the other organizers who polished it up, clearly. Other questions before because we will reconvene and hopefully the breakout sessions will stimulate more conversation. Dan, as always, thank you so very much.
Quite welcome.
Someone who's smart is going to immediately open breakout rooms.